funny. I've never been an entrepreneur who's like the grind and hustle and, 24/7. I've never been that person. I'm very much, I work to live. I don't live to work.
Yeah.
So everything that I design or say yes to can't take a lot of my time. Like my
Yeah.
ultimate goal is to work less and make more, right? Like that's the goal for everybody.
Yeah, for
I
sure.
think. So I've always designed my life first and then my business around my life. But as far as, being married and being a bonus dad officially, I mean, we've been together for 4 years. We've lived together for 3 years. And so not much has changed after the marriage.
Yeah.
But what has changed for me once I realized that I will propose and I will marry her and all those things, what changed for me more is like legacy building. That's part of the real estate investing. Like I'd rather leave her kids 100 doors than $10 million.
Yes.
Because you can blow $10 million. So I'd rather set you up for success. So I think more than anything, it's really more focused on long-term beyond my life, right? When you're single and you're a bachelor, it's like, how do I make the next 10 grand so I can go on a killer trip, right?
Totally.
And so now it's just a different focus for me as far as like, what are we really focused on as a family, as a unit moving forward versus like, what does Justin want and what does Justin need? And it's made it a lot more enjoyable. Like it's made it a lot more fun to make those moves. It's made it a lot more fun to do the work and figure out where's that next stream of income coming from, and really has allowed me to kind of focus in on, again, making more and working less. So in the last 6 months, I've added. I'm going to say this, and I don't mean to sound like I'm bragging, but it's obnoxious. But it's fascinating. I've added 6 figures of income and only added 2 hours of work a month.
That's incredible. So, a month.
Yeah, and a month. Yeah. So it's crazy.
Tell me more.
Like, how do I do this?
Keep going. And
so I just made a shift in my business. I used to have a community called Growth Now Community. And it was doing well, but I didn't feel like I was serving at the level I should be serving.
Sure.
And so I kind of redacted all that and I launched a mastermind.
Awesome.
And so the mastermind's 2 hours a month. We meet up twice a year, but that's just travel for me. That's fun.
Yeah, sure.
And so it's 2 hours a month, and it was a lot more successful, and people were a lot more excited than I thought.
So cool.
And it's become the most fun thing I get to do, and it's added 6 figures of income.
Gosh, so good.
And also an incredible community of people, which you can't win.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, of course. And I love anytime I've created a community of some sort, it's the best when like I don't have to be there and the community still thrives. And I'm still working on like exit strategy elements of things that I'm doing with my publishing house and stuff like that. But I just can't not be with the people and not wanting to enjoy what it is that they're enjoying, which is ultimately camaraderie. I want to bring one last topic to surface, and it's something that I listened to on one of your podcasts. I'm probably going to butcher his last name, but it's Nick something, starts with a C. I think it was about spirituality, and you were mentioning your faith and like the integration of that. He was brilliant in a lot of the things that he was sharing. And I'm curious for you, because you navigate such a huge secular world. Like we're all in the secular, we're all in the world, not of the world, but in the world. How do you go about like practicing your principles? What are the things and the values that you keep center in those spaces so that your faith is intact and your principles are intact?
It's funny. I think faith has been a journey for me.
Yeah.
So my grandfather was a pastor.
Yeah.
He actually at one point ran all the Methodist churches in the state of New Jersey.
Wow.
And so when you grow up in a church, and I mean grow up, like I was there 3 nights a week, youth groups and all these things, and every Sunday you'd go to church. And then you hit those teenage years, and I was like 16, and I was like, what am I doing? Like, why am I going to this thing? Blah, blah, blah. And almost kind of pulled myself fully out, right? And so I had a moment in my life, and this is why I'll never question God.
Yeah.
It's kind of a crazy, I've never shared this on a podcast.
Ooh, let's
go. So I, was going through some things, and I had to move in with my aunt and uncle because my parents couldn't keep their crap together. And so I moved in with my aunt and uncle, and of course I questioned God in this moment, right? My life was falling apart. I had to change schools. And I remember one night I was in my room at their house, and I was crying, and I said, God, if you're real, you need to show me that you're real, because I don't think you're real.
Yeah.
Went to school the next day. Forgot I even did that, right?
Yeah.
Came home from school, walked into the kitchen, and on the kitchen counter, now keep in mind, I didn't say that out loud. Like I was the only one that knew. Like,
it was in your spirit. Right? Sure.
Yeah. And so I walked into the kitchen, and on the counter, a Bible was opened up. And on top of that was what these little monthly pamphlets that we have called the Open Room or something, or Upper Room.
Upper Room, yeah.
Yeah, and they were both open to scripture about how you can't see me, but I'm here.
Wow.
And I was like, you've got to be kidding me right now. So
Wow.
I'll never question God.
Holy cow.
I consider myself more of a spiritual person now
Yeah.
than quote unquote religious.
Yeah.
Just because organized religion, in my opinion, is just, it's a business, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
But for me, I believe that there's a higher power. I do believe in the story of Jesus, so I'm a Christian.
Yeah.
But for me, it's really about being in flow with what's meant to be for me. And so what I always say is spirituality to me is two main things. One, there's a higher power. We didn't create this, right? Something
Yeah.
is greater than us,
Yeah.
whatever you want to call it.
Yep.
God, Allah, source, whatever.
Yeah.
The second thing is we're all energy, right?
Yep.
So we need to make sure that in spirituality, that the energy is flowing with us instead of against us. And that means we're living in good intention, we're living in our purpose, and we're moving forward. And I do that through prayer and meditation and different things to make sure that I am flowing. Because guess what? When I'm flowing with the energy, money shows up out of nowhere, relationships are stronger, and when I'm not, I'm knocked down hard pretty quickly.
Yeah.
And so I need to make sure I stay on that path. That I'm, look, we're meant to be here for a reason, right?
Yeah.
And so when we're flowing, you're rewarded by God. And when we're not flowing, he goes, whoa, hold up. I'm going to slap you in the face real quick. And we need to pay attention to that stuff, right? We need to pay attention to the flow of that.
Yeah, I've definitely had that moment many times in my life, and I'm like, man, I knew I was getting that wrong, and it's okay because it's correction and direction, and he is grace filled, and so I love that you shared that, and to know the backstory of like being raised in the church. I think it gives you that foundation, right? And raise them up in the way they shall go, and they will not depart from it, regardless of if we depart from it, because I've had my prodigal season as well. But I love that. I would say, like, in connection to that, there was something that you said even on this show, and you said we're all chasing death. My antithesis to that would be that we're all chasing life.
Yeah.
Hold tight.
I like that.
Right? Because ultimately we're chasing life. Like today, I want to live an abundant life. And I also want to live for me and you in eternity. And so what does that look like? And how do we actually explore and do that? Because I feel like that opposite is that complacency, that stagnancy, and that lack of growth. And so it really is, it's a beautiful synergistic experience. And as you said that, I'm like, hold on, why does that not sit well with me? I'm like, oh, because I want to chase life like every single day and the overflow of what that looks like. And I know through your show and being an avid listener, it's going to just continue to spill out because of the people and the exploration that you do. So I would be doing a disservice to my listeners if I didn't ask you what's your definition of success.
Yeah, so my definition of success, like I feel like this is for so many, but it's doing what I want, when I want, with whom I want.
Yeah.
And that means 24/7, right? And like I love how you said it, we're chasing life every single day. One thing I've realized is that I'm good in life every single day, every single moment, the good and the bad. I find gratitude in it. I find the reasons why it's happening. I find, what is this doing for me versus to me, right? And I think that's really the power of living, is understanding that adversities create our successes. I really believe that our rock bottom moment is meant to be our jumping off point to greatness. Instead of allowing it to hold me down, to keep me in a place, we're able to jump off of that and create so much goodness.
That's good.
And so I always do what I want, when I want, with whom I want. And it's been even when I was broke, by the way.
Yeah.
It's not just, hey, I have money now, I just do it in cooler places sometimes.